welcome everyone. First of all, also thanks to the organizers for having me here at Data Toboggan. Yeah, I would like to present an interesting session to you today um, on new ways to optimize shared data sets in the Power BI service, shared semantic models in the Power BI service, excuse me, it's the new term. And this is actually the very first time I'm presenting this session. I've been working on it this week still, so I hope everything will go well. But yeah, this is something completely new that I'm planning to show, a new approach to optimizing these models. What can you expect? First, quickly, we'll take a look at what is a shared model, and then we go right into optimizing what we can do. What do I mean by optimizing as well? And so it's generally going to be all about external tools that we have to help us in making our models better. I'm gonna quickly say something about myself also. Gregor Brunner, originally from Austria, but have been living in Switzerland for a while. Also started my company there, Brunner BI. I've been working with Power BI for a really long time. We mostly do development consulting in the German-speaking areas, and also my team and I have developed the external tool Measure Killer that probably some of you have heard of. So what is a shared dataset? You can see here I'm using the new icons from the Power BI service, those strange shapes with the purple dots. That's our model, our shared dataset, or our shared semantic model. The whole point is we have one model that is connected to multiple reports. So the reports have a live connection to that model, pulling data from it, whatever exists in the model at the point of query. And those could be Power BI reports, as we can see on the right side, or it could also be a paginated report. And then potentially in organizations, also people will build local files, so they will have Power BI desktop open and start developing reports there. So this model is used all over the place. And then the whole point is, okay, so how can we even touch this, right? It's super risky, things can break down. Those models are, from my experience, a huge pain in the butt for most admins or generally people managing those. Yeah, what can we do? So the approach that I want to show today is an easy one, I would say, because generally optimization is a huge topic. It can get very, very complex. And you have to test out a lot of things, try out what works, what can improve performance, and so on. But this approach is about finding the unused columns and measures, meaning whatever we have in the model, what is not currently used in all the reports, we want to include in our analysis. All of the unused columns and measures, we want to find them and we want to remove them, because if nobody's using them or nobody has been using them so far, probably they're not needed. Obviously, we never know 100%. That's why you should always check everything individually. Do we really need them? Maybe we will need them next week, who knows, right? But otherwise, the goal would be maybe to remove those unused columns and measures. And we can do this using some external tools that can help us, because there's no native feature in Power BI to tell you what you are using somewhere and what not. What are the benefits of this? We have a smaller and better organized model. So the model will the size of the model can be greatly reduced. I've done this many times, and I've also seen this for a lot of people using the Measure Killer, for example. that some people, they have 80–90% of the size of the model is not used anywhere and nobody knew. And suddenly you can shrink your model substantially, and it gives you a better organized model, but also the reports will perform faster. Everything is better in that sense. Yeah, so for me, this way is easy one, right? You don't have to know so much. You don't have to really dive into all the specifics of data modeling, all the effects, whatever you can test. It can take so much time to optimize a model. I think this is one of the easiest way to do that. We will look at two approaches. Approach number one means we can download the dataset and all connected reports from the Power BI service. So if we have access to the dataset and we can get the report somehow, then we can use all free stuff. We can use the free version of the tool of Measure Killer, and also we only need Power BI Desktop, and everything can be done locally and even offline. So I can even run this on a virtual machine that has no internet access. I just need to have the dataset file and all the report files. Those are the ones connected in the Power BI service, right? But let me just show you what I mean. 1 second, I'll just share my browser. Where's my browser? Here. So in our example this morning, we will take a look at a data set from the International Movie Database. And imagine we have a couple of reports connected to that. So this is our shared semantic model. These reports all have a live connection to that model. It doesn't really matter where they are. They could also be in other workspaces, but in the approach one, I showed here, we just take the data set, we download it, we take all the reports, we download those, and we put everything on our machine. And then we only need Power BI Desktop and the free version of Measure Killer, and then we will do our analysis. Maybe quickly, what is this data about? The movie database has movies, obviously, for all kinds of, I think, last 100 years or something. There's really everything in there. And we built some reports on top of that. This is one of my favorite ones, where you can see how many movies exist per rating. So you can see, obviously, that the really highly rated movies, there's not that many of them. And then also here we can see over time how many movies there have been. You can see that the number of movies really skyrocketed around the 2000s. And here it dropped because those are the ones planned in the future. So actually it's this, then we have the COVID drop, and then it went up again. Anyway, but we have movies, we have ratings in our data set. Okay, so let's go back to PowerPoint. So that's the approach number one. We have everything, we can access it, we can download it. And then if we cannot download anything, meaning we don't have access to the data set, maybe it has been modified by the XMLA endpoint, people were writing stuff to the model, maybe it has a large dataset storage format. There could be some things that prevent us from downloading the model, or also I cannot download the reports. For example, maybe a report was built in the Power BI service and some other limitations where I cannot get the reports. Then we will, at the end, we will look at a different approach where we can basically do everything using external tools, and we don't need any Power BI Desktop, but we can optimize the model by just using those tools. And in that case, we would have the Measure Killer and Tabular Editor and both paid versions, because that's just it's almost impossible to achieve this with free tools. So, and this is everything is done online. So that's what we're going to look at. And I think I've talked enough. Let's jump over to Power BI. We'll start with approach one, where we do everything offline. Something I haven't mentioned yet is, if you have any questions, I have my phone right here. So if you put something in the chat, I will be able to see it. Please let me know. Actually, do I have the chat here? Yeah, I think it should work. Okay, so let's see. I have my IMDb dataset here. I prepared something really huge for this presentation. So the dataset itself has almost 1 GB in compressed size. So I really want to give you a almost real world example of a really big dataset. And I also understand that it's a little risky. If something goes wrong, we have to wait a long time for things to load. But I think we'll have enough time to do that today. And it just shows you better of maybe the storage that you'll be able to save than if I use the dataset that has like 1 megabytes. And that's what I did in previous presentations. But this one should be really hands-on and giving a good example of what can actually happen in practice. So how do we start? Like I said, we need to have the dataset file, and I have that here. I also kept a copy because we will optimize this guy here, and the file size will go down. So then we will be able to see how much we saved compared to the version before optimization. And then we have a couple of reports. Those are the ones from here, right? Best movies, director versus actor, whatever. We have basically 4 reports here, and I have everything locally. So I start up Power BI Desktop. You can also see I have the page here with some stuff in the data set. So this will also be part of the analysis if I choose to. And then I'm gonna start Measure Killer. Like I said, now we can just use the free version. You can just download it from measurekiller.com. And we will use this second mode, shared data sets on a local machine. So first thing, it's asking me for the data set, right? I have to select the data set, and it's important that this data set needs to be open currently in Power BI Desktop. So I click on Next. It's previously selected. It looks good. Click on Next. Now it's asking me, would you like to add the pages of the data set? That means, do you want to include this in the analysis? Because imagine this title column that I have here in the matrix, it could only be used here, and it will show me that it's used in the dataset page. If I don't care about this and I don't really need the pages, I could say no. But in my case, I'm just going to say yes, sure, let's include this. I don't want this to break down, right? The whole point of this analysis is that we reduce the size of the model. We optimize it without any reports or anything that is currently in use from this model, without anything breaking down, because that would be the worst case. Now, I also need to select the file of the dataset. So we need that too in order to analyze what's going on this page. Click on Next. And now we can see it's right here. And I have the option now to add the reports. So let's do this here. You can just drag and drop all the reports. I'm going to select this. I'm just going to drag and drop them in here. We can see here now they're all here. And I can run this thing. Running means doing the analysis. And you can see it's super fast. So it's only analyzing the metadata. It doesn't care about the data itself. That's why also the speed depends on how many columns and measures I have, and not how big the data is. So we immediately see this summary. 49% of my model is used and 51% is unused. So we saw here that the model has 940 megabytes, but this is compressed, right? Here we see the uncompressed size. So uncompressed is around 2.5 gigabytes. And 1.3 gigabytes of those are completely unused. And we have some other statistics here, but let's look at the table. Let's see what's really going on. Every row here that is red is completely unused. So you can see even this calculated column, some key column, whatever, it is part of our people table. It's part of the dataset, obviously. So this calculated column is the biggest column in the whole model, and it's not used anywhere. Then we have some other key column and constant. It's almost the same size, but this is used. You can see here it's used 2 times. So if I open this up, I can see where it is used. You can see it's used in artifact and relationships. What is an artifact? Oh, actually, it's used in this key column. So interestingly, this column is the key column is referencing this other column. So it's used in this calculated column, and it's used in a relationship, in an active relationship, in an active many-to-one relationship. So anyway, we get a full output here of everything that is used and unused, and I can dive through this. For example, here I can see this column is used in a report level measure. So that's part of the ratings report. So I can also see what's going on, obviously, in those thin files and what is used there. And we can see if we go down here that not everything in this output belongs to the dataset. So I have the whole model of the dataset, plus I also have all report level measures from the thin files. So here we can see it's just measure 1, measure 2, whatever. But this is a report level measure. And we also see if it's used in that report or not. Our optimization will not cover the report level measures. We will not remove them. We will not mess with them. It's not really important to us. We're only focused on the centralized model. But in the output, it shows up anyway. And I can also right-click here and I see the measure details, and I can see, I don't know, some metadata about this report level measure. Here we have another one, average age, and we can see this is a part of the director versus actor report, and it's used in some visuals on page 1 of this report. So how do we go from here? We know which ones are used, which ones are unused. We also have these yellow ones. What is this? Used by unused. What does that mean? Let's look at this. This artifact is a column. It's the age column that is part of our people table. Let's maybe take a look at this. So let's see. I'm in the data set here. So here, basically, for data that we have, it's just calculating the age of those actors by the birth year. And if I take out the blanks, we'll see. Actually, we still have something. Wait a second. Oh, I only selected the blanks. That's why. Take out the blanks. We can see generally it's just calculating the age. Okay, so this column is only used also in this key column. So wait a second. That's why it's yellow. It's yellow because we will remove the red ones, right? And when we remove this will go from yellow also to red because it's only used in something that is unused. And that's what this means. Okay, so now how do we go from here? We have this output, we can also export it, we can do some other stuff, but let's remove things. Let's optimize our model. I go to kill measures and calculated columns. This is what I can do by writing to the model directly. So it's just like executing a C# script on the model. That's why I have to have it open here. And we'll be able to see what's going on in Power BI. So for example, we have this first genre measure. It's part of the ones that Measure Killer is suggesting us to delete. And I'm just going to go ahead and say kill all. I just want to kill all those measures because, yeah, I don't want to select. This is fine for me. Kill all. Boom. It says, okay, it was removed. We can also see here, look, they're already gone. They're gone. And I get a new box. Remember this age column? Now it says new unused artifacts. So now it figured out, okay, this age column was only referenced in this calculated column. Now age is unused. And there's something else, actually. This also is now unused. And it already updated all this. So I will now see that age is now in the main output, it's red. But why don't I see age here? Because it's one of the normal columns, one of the data columns that comes in through Power Query. So here we can only remove measures and calculated columns by writing to the model, But then the actual columns, the data columns, here we cannot do this automatically in Power BI Desktop. We need to change the M code. So now I'm gonna actually what we can do is I just wanna take a screenshot here. So this is what we started with, right? Actually, I didn't know where this went. Okay, let's just have it in Paint. So this is how we started, right? Half of it was used. So now if I run again, just because those the calculated columns and this stuff is already gone, I can already run and see that, oh, okay, now more is used and less is unused. So everything that we saved, especially the calculated column, we already saved 500 megabytes because this is why the calculated column was that big. The measures, obviously, they don't make a difference for the size, but they make everything more orderly. I didn't have to do that, but now just the next step is basically to modify the M code. So I have a drop down here with all the tables that have unused columns. You can see there's 4 of them. So it means actually one table doesn't have unused columns, but the other 4, they have. And the biggest one is first, and it tells me, oh, I have 450 megabytes to save here, basically. And I can do either a remove columns or remove other columns. Those are the Power Query functions, right? I'm gonna do a remove columns, actually. Usually I do this, but I think in this example, it's better because then we can also see what's going on. And actually, let's do the remove other column, the best practice. So I click here, copy the M code, then I go to transform data. This is my people table. It's a really big data set, so everything is not super fast. I go to the advanced editor, and now I just select everything and I paste. And you can see everything is the same, just this is new. So it's adding a step at the end where it's selecting the columns or it's kicking out the columns that we don't need. So this is the kind of a semi-automatic way to remove those unused columns. And if I click on this little wheel, you can see that basically those were unselected, and this is the ones we're going to leave in. And I have to do this now for every table manually. Title principles, it's this one. It just didn't refresh the preview, but that's not a problem. Boom, it only leaves those. Then let's go to titles, copy titles, go in here, advanced editor, paste. Wait a second, there was, oh, I think I did something. This is some really important thing here. Here we actually still have a problem in this version. You can see it's removing everything. So basically, what's going on? None of my columns are used. You can see here titles, everything is unused. So basically, it removes all the columns, and then I can either leave it like this, but Power BI Desktop will make me aware of this, what's going on, because it's going to say, hey, you have an empty query. Do you really want to load that? So back to here, titles. Now we go to basic info. I copy that. I paste it in here, and it's done. So now I'm finished, and I need to close and apply to apply those changes to my model. And now obviously it has to load everything. And here I get this warning, right? I'm loading an empty query. It will be automatically disabled by Power BI. I just have to click continue because Power BI wants to make me aware of this. I tried to do this, so maybe it was an accident, or I don't know what I'm doing. So that's why I get this little notification here. You can see that the data is coming from data flows. So basically I have this really big files. Actually, I can show it to you. It's in here. I have some really big files with many gigabytes from the movie database, and you can just download them. And I uploaded them to SharePoint, then pulled the data from SharePoint into the data flow, and then the model, my data set, is pulling the data from the data flow. So that way I can always refresh everything, and Why don't I load the stuff directly from SharePoint? Because the data flow is a little faster, and those files usually take a little longer to load, and in the data flow, everything is already better, and I can do the refresh a little faster. But still, we have to wait here a little bit. As you can see, it's just going through the tables, and those are really big. That's the downside of showing a huge data set in the presentation, that we have to wait a little bit. Do we have any questions so far? I can see the chat, I think. If you have any questions, please just put them in the chat. But we have to wait here until this is finished. And then we will save our file, and we will see what's going on. And we can check maybe also if the file size, how much it will go down, right? That's the whole point. We want to make this small and lean, this data set, or semantic model, as it's called these days. Maybe in the meantime, until this is finished, I can go back to the tool. There's also some other stuff I can see here. Like I said, I can export, so I can export to Excel and JSON. There I get more information. I get much more than in this main table here. And we also have this what if analysis here, where I can see if I remove this page, I can save this much. It's kind of what if you deleted something. And I'm actually using this a lot for client projects when, I don't know, somebody said, hey, maybe we should take out this page from the report. Then I always go here and see, okay, how much of my model is actually consumed on every page of the report. And this also works for shared models, obviously. Okay, this looks like it's almost finished. And then we will have the reduced columns, just like any other time I remove this through Power Query. So somebody just wrote a question in the chat for the online part regarding Excel. So Excel, I will answer this after, because it's better to do this after. We can see that this finished, right? So now I'm gonna save my model, because I'm really curious how much the size went down. So before, remember, this is the one I kept as a backup. It has 941 megabytes, and now it's saving. This is even taking time. Boom, 427. Wow, less than half, right? Okay, what we could do also here, we still have the old output here. So I have to run this again to get the new output. Boom, you can see 100% used. That's exactly what we wanted. Nothing is unused. And it's still taking all those reports in account, right? And even if I want to say, actually, I don't want this, I could even take this out now and it will update everything. But now we only have 1.6 gigabytes. And if you remember, or let's look at the screenshot before, we had 1.2 gigabytes used. And now we basically cut it down in half. And this is the uncompressed size. So you never really know how Power BI can compress this data. But we can see that it's 427 megabytes. We still have some artifacts that are unused here, and those are the report level measures, right? Those only exist in those thin files. So that's why they will never be part of the killing, because we cannot really do that. We can only remove stuff from the model. So back to PowerPoint. So this was basically the offline approach. I can use free tools to do this. It's quite easy, and it doesn't take so much time. So you can run this on your models as long as you can download everything. But what if you cannot, right? So let's look at Power BI Service. Here in this model, for example, I have the large model storage format on. Even if I'm writing to this model through XMLA or do some kind of deployment, then I just cannot download it anymore. Okay, but then what do I do, right? So I can close Power BI Desktop here. We don't need it anymore. But now this is basically where I need the paid tools to do that, unfortunately. But yeah, at some point, things get really, really complicated, and then it might be that I have to resort to some advanced tools. And here now we will analyze this using the shared mode online, right? So here I don't need Power BI Desktop. And then also we will dig into Tabular Editor to help us out here. First thing I need to do is I need to select dataset. So like I said, nothing is open locally here, but I'm gonna go into my IMDb workspace, and here you can see this is the IMDb dataset. It even shows me large storage format. Click on next. Now it's asking me where I want to search for the connected reports. So I have access to all those reports in our tenant, but I just need to search this one because actually I only care about those reports, but it could also find automatically the reports that were in the other workspaces. I click on next, and you can see it found all the connected reports automatically. So now we come to the question in the chat. What about Excel analysis? Since this is more advanced here, I can even drag and drop local files here. So you can see here you can add local files, and this can be paginated reports in any type of Power BI file. So the Power BI can also be a PBIP, even a PBIT, it doesn't really matter, but also paginated report. And the whole point is that you can add here stuff that is maybe currently under development. It's not in the online, it's not in the service yet. And we can also add analyze in Excel. So here you need to manually drag and drop the analyze in Excel file. So it will not see, it doesn't know magically that somebody is doing something on their computer connecting to that centralized data set. No, it only knows what you tell it in that sense, because the analyzing Excel files, nobody will upload them to the Power BI service. And even then, it's kind of tricky to get them. So that's why you need to add them yourself. So you need to find the finance people that are doing something here, and then you can add it here, and it will become part of the analysis. But let's run this here quickly. So this is now, you can see now, oh, I need some authentication. Yeah, now we're doing an XMLA connection to the data set, right? So it's getting the metadata. It only always analyzes the metadata for data sets and the reports. And you can see it takes some time to get that, but it's quite fast. It's finished, and I have basically the same output as before we had locally, but now this is just the data set in the service. So now it's getting interesting, right? We cannot do anything. We only want to write to this model, but we still want to optimize it. So just like before, I'm going to start with killing all the measures and calculated columns. I click here, and I get a big warning. Whoa, you want to write to XMLA. Remember, you cannot download your file anymore. It can create all kinds of problems. But yeah, I know what I'm doing. Sure, let's do this. Boom. And now it's writing to the model, and you can see, boom, it removed those 4 objects quickly. And again, it showed me that those 2 are new in the output. So just like before, now I can do an intermediate analysis and just run this again and just get my updated version of the dataset. And just like before, it's not 4951 anymore. Now I have more used because we removed the calculated column mainly. So, but now, what about the other columns? Before I went into Power Query, but there's no Power Query now. What do I do? And this is where I think it gets really interesting. It's really hard to do this properly. And that's where I'm using Tabular Editor. So basically, I have my M code, but how do I correctly apply it to the model without destroying anything? And the refresh should still work, right? So we will test this afterwards. I hope I didn't mess anything up, but we'll see. So the refresh should work afterwards. If I messed it up, the refresh will not work. So I'm gonna take a big risk here, but yeah, let's see how it goes. So I have all those M codes, right? I'm gonna copy this, and then, so this is the people table, right? That's what we're gonna start with. So I'm gonna go into Tabular Editor, I'm gonna connect to the model. Oh, I have to start this again because I had it open for a long time. Probably that's why it's complaining. So I'm gonna connect to my model. Now it's doing the same XMLA connection. Actually, here I have to authenticate. So 1 second for my authenticator. Doing this on a VM actually, but it doesn't matter. You can do it anywhere. But this is also the paid version, obviously, of Tabular Editor. So that's why with the free tools we kind of hit a limit at some point. There might be a way, but I haven't found it yet. So anyway, I have this M code of the people table, right? So now I'm gonna go into people table in the Explorer here. I'm gonna go to partition, and now if I click here, you can see I have the M code here. Oh, great. So I'm just gonna do the same thing as I did before, and you can see it just adding the step at the end. And then I'm gonna do the same for the title principles. I'm gonna close this, title principles, partitions, boom. Gonna copy paste this. And now I'm gonna do the titles. Oh, wait a second. Titles, we're gonna remove everything. That's actually where it's kind of tricky. If I do this and I copy paste it in here, it will throw me some problems because the M code will say there are no columns left and somehow it cannot update the schema. So in this case, actually we can do this, I think, but I still need to delete. Actually, in this case, it's better to do the remove other columns if it works. But in the end, since we remove all the columns here, the problem is that it doesn't automatically remove those. So basically, I need to remove the table manually here. That's something I figured out. Maybe there's a better way. I will do some research on this, but this table, I just have to remove it completely. Yeah. And then basic info. Here we can do just like before, basically amending the partition, and it just pasted here. So I changed those M codes and I removed this one table because it's gone completely. So basically, how do I know if I have to remove the whole table? Maybe there we can check Measure Killer again, and you can see if everything is red, at least for now. I think that's the best way to see this. Or you can also see it here, maybe if you see what's going on in the M code. But what do we do now? So now I need to right-click and update the table schema. I cannot just save the model. I first need to update the table schema. And this is the thing where basically the tool says, oh, I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to click on OK. And now I'm going to save the changes. So now it's going to write this to the model. Whoa. And, oh, I was not quick enough, actually. I wanted to show you. Oh, yeah, it's already done. So we missed it. You can see that already those tables are gone. And you can see here, this is finished, okay? And this titles table, for example, that I still have here, it's gone. So now I'm gonna refresh this and see if this is working correctly. It's gonna update everything. Boom, ha, it worked. 100% used. That's exactly what we had in the offline analysis, but now we have it online. Yeah, this is really cool, right? I don't need Power BI Desktop anymore. I can, no matter how messed up my model is and whatever happened with it before, I can just write to it and do stuff. So this is really cool. And of course, the columns that I didn't need, they're also gone here. And now comes the big test. Can I still refresh this? And I really hope this will work. Usually, the refresh actually will take some time because it's so big, everything. But if it breaks down, we'll see it now. But if this runs for like 10, 20 seconds, then it will run through for sure. So this is looking good. So it seems like I didn't make any mistake, but this is very risky. So be careful what you're doing, practice a little bit. But this is really, I think, a very new way to optimize a model. And also we need to check, of course, if anything is breaking down, right? So my reports are still working. That's good. The refresh is in progress. but since it's a really big model, it will take 5 or 10 minutes. But as you can see here already, the metadata, whatever we get, the columns and measures and everything is already updated. So everything is ready, and we have a really nice and small model, and we never touch Power BI Desktop here. That's really powerful, especially if you have some big data sets, incremental refresh, all kinds of stuff. Because the whole point is, at least of Measure Killer, the whole point is that it searches through everything. Like even if you're using a column only in Power Query or only in conditional formatting or somewhere, it will find it and it will tell you, don't remove it, it is used there. So the whole point is basically to say that the unused stuff is really useless and you can remove them safely without anything breaking down. And yeah, that was it so far. Do we have, okay, so somebody is asking how it works in the backend in Power BI Desktop. Will it be removed in Power Query? Well, what are you talking about exactly? Because in the offline, where am I? Before, we did this in Power Query, right? We changed the M code in Power Query. But of course here now, I cannot download this anymore at all. So there is no Power BI Desktop anymore for this model. This has been modified by the holy XMLA endpoint, and that's why it becomes untouchable. So this I can only connect to with external tools, and then I can modify stuff, but this will not, there is no Power Query anymore. And of course, this whole thing also assumes that I don't have a PBIX anymore, right? If I had a PBIX, I can use the free version and I can just re-upload it, right, with the new M code. But this second version is really about the models that are stuck in the service and people have built stuff on it. What are we going to do about those? That's why I was basically, that was the second variant. And yeah, does this answer your question? Otherwise, I can show the Power Query again. Yes, okay, great. Cool. Do we have any other questions?